Alright, so had the Boulder Police investigated the assault against me by the officers on January 6th, as well as the assaults that happened prior to that. A lot of good could have been done. Officer Lolatai assaulted at least 3 additional community members who were homeless. In addition, there were 2 deaths as a result, at least 2 deaths as a result of officers refusing to take my report in August. Now, this stuff that I've been speaking out about, that you guys called me crazy and said that I was lying and said that I was making it up. Now that it's happened to others, maybe you guys start paying attention. There's additional cases that need to be reopened and investigated for the wrongdoing of Boulder Police Department. One of those is the case of Shady Dan. I don't know his last name. I feel sad for that. He was a very good friend of mine. 2 of the witnesses in that case include Aaron Mayville and a guy named Cinderblock. Boulder Police knew that Shady Dan was behind the pedestrian shop just behind the Pearl Street Mall, not breathing and unresponsive, 4 hours before I found him. 4 hours before I found him. And that needs to be reopened. Those officers need to be held accountable for their negligence, for not caring about that man or his life. His life could have been saved. Somebody called them at 4 a.m. or 6 a.m., I can't remember which, to let them know that he was not breathing and unresponsive. Why didn't they show up? Tony DeStassi used to be the manager at the pedestrian shop. There was an employee there named Anna. These 2 people need to be questioned in regards to Danny's death. Also, at the same time, there was an article written about Danny's death. At that time, there was another homeless man who was found up by the college, whose chest was crushed. He died from blunt force trauma to the head and chest, and his death was ruled undetermined. There's also the case of Christopher Tapp, whose wife beat him for 30 minutes, and he was the one who was arrested for assault. There's also the case of Christopher Weaver, 2 different cases, where the first one, 6 college students followed him to where he sleeps, and they tried to bash his skull in with a rock. There's also the Boulder theft of multiple children by police. They can get up to $1.5 million for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl under the age of 6. Christopher Weaver is not the only victim of this. There's also the case of Nancy Stopka and Mariah Johnson and, of course, Desiree Leonard. Desiree went through a hard time. She went into a deep depression, and she did a lot of things that, well, some people hit the bottle. Some people hit the drugs. Me, I started screaming as loud as I could. There's a possibility of an additional 5 deaths that need to be investigated. The possibility of 5 people who looked similar to me, who were homeless, being beaten to death in the Boulder and Denver area. These need to be investigated. There's also the case of Demetrius Shankling. Had the Boulder Police done anything to investigate the Boulder County Jail and their assaults against me by those very same officers, as well as other officers, and their harassment and teasing and hazing of myself as well as other inmates. Demetrius Shankling might still be alive. They called me mentally ill to prevent my voice from being heard so they could do these things to others. They shouldn't have done that.